As we sit here Super Bowl week, our Louisiana Only squad will be watching from their couches. Yet again, it was another very poor season, but it's time to just move on from it, right? Obviously learn from it, but in this universe, the Minnesota Vikings have finally made a Super Bowl, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, if you did not see the Commanders replacement squad video on Monday, spoiler alert, we took on the Jaguars in the Super Bowl and won. Fantastic full circle there, so make sure that you guys are sticking tuned, as I have a special video planned for, well, tomorrow, for kind of a wrap up as we are moving into the release of Madden 24. But we still have work to do here, and that all starts in the offseason. We have reached staff week, and we blew by the Pro Bowl, we blew by the yearly awards because we really weren't in the running for much of anything. Though that being said, we did have two Pro Bowlers in Danielle Hunter, who had a massive comeback season, and Patrick Peterson, who did come back to the squad. He played at free safety and played it really well. So those two earned their Pro Bowl bids, but as for the yearly awards, we had some guys in the running, but no one won anything, just as we have yet to really win anything of any significance in this series. So it's time to change that. But speaking of winning, the Minnesota Vikings have lost their fourth or fifth Super Bowl in their team history, losing to the Jaguars 38-35. It is the Jaguars' first Super Bowl championship, and the MVP goes to cornerback Denzel Ward. So big props there. If you were curious about who won the yearly awards, though, the main ones to highlight over on that right hand side, do need a shout out there. Kevin O'Connell winning Coach of the Year. I am a Vikings fan, you can probably tell by the jersey behind me, but shout out there. But for us, there's work to do. There's no celebrating, and the first thing we are going to do is make a change to our staff. Now, I really don't think this affects things much, but with how bad the offense has been, we are definitely going to be firing our offensive coordinator. So Scott Anderson, goodbye. Now, what I would love to find in his stead is a West Coast zone style coordinator, because I feel like that is what is going to work best, and that's kind of what I designed the new playbook around, which we are going to stick with at least for now. And our new offensive coordinator is going to be Jacob Nail. Looks like he was a head coach, but we're going to have him come in as our offensive coordinator. So all good there. There's not really any contract negotiations. I do wish we had some contract negotiations, but it's Madden. We are not going to make a change to our defensive coordinator, as the defense did see mass improvement their last season. So just starting off with the offensive coordinator, though, if the defense does not do well, he's on thin ice. But now with our coach in, it's time to move to the first real step of the offseason, and that is player negotiations. And we 100% need to lock in Patrick Queen here. So we're going to have to go a little bit more player friendly. Now they're saying expected value is 4 years, 30 to about 8 mil per season. I feel like we could definitely go a little bit more than that just to make sure that he's coming in. So let's just raise this up to a 5-year deal for about 9 mil a season. And he'll stick around, which we needed desperately. Now, one player to possibly come back to is Patrick Peterson, who is coming off, again, a Pro Bowl season. Playing free safety, I think he still has some decent ratings, but he is starting to regress. He is 35 years old, so I don't expect there to be a massive amount of teams trying to come after him, and he's not all too interested. That is a little bit kind of down in the red. So we'll come back to Peterson, probably more in open free agency. Now, I definitely do want to lock down Foster Moreau. He's been really solid for us. Expect a 3-year deal for about a little bit over 5.5 mil. We could definitely make that work. Again, we're going to bump up some of these because we haven't been playing all too well. We'll make it 6.5, and he's back as well. Now, a spot where we might have some issue is at right tackle. Lyle Collins has next to no interest to stay with the team. He was our best rated offensive lineman, but he gave up a sack a game last season. And he's 32 years old, so with no interest, that's definitely going to be an open free agency. We're already in the off season, but definitely going to be an open free agency kind of a thing, and we'll see if we do end up going his way. Now, another guy I would like to re-sign who hasn't got much starting time is Percy Butler. They're expecting about $2.5 million a season, so we'll make that about dead on with a 2-year contract offer, but he wants to test. Now, a lot of these other guys just did not have much interest at all, so we're not looking to sign him back. And some of them who did have interest, like Teamer and Bradley, not looking to bring back right now. So that is kind of where we're sitting. We're not bringing back either of the 2 backup running backs at this point. If we are to bring anyone back, maybe Darrell Williams. I did not like the play of Boston Scott this last season. He was a concern. So as for closed free agency, we brought back most of the guys, but at least the guys we were hoping to still have some work to do in open free agency. And speaking of open free agency, this is what our first group is going to look like. Now, it says I have 5 active negotiations. I only have 4. I don't know. Madden is what it is. But we're going to try to bring back Lyle Collins. They say expected value is about $9 million a season for 2 years. I'm giving him a 1-year, $12 million offer. Obviously, we're not in the top ones, but it's out there. We'll see if he decides to take it. But if he doesn't, I do have a backup offer out for Trey Turner. Was with us previously. We ended up trading him away, I believe. Same for Jarvis Landry. Again, trying to bring him back, mostly just as depth at this point. And a little bit of a surprise signing we're trying to make here for a fullback in Christopher Mitchell. Out of Tulane. Don't plan on really using him as a pure fullback, more as a fullback power running back hybrid. Being 6'2", 263, he might be fun to see run out there. He doesn't have tremendous speed, but he has good strength, decent agility. Acceleration also isn't too fantastic, but the other current free agents at running back are the 2 guys we had before, and if we do end up having to go back to them, we will. But let's make these offers, see if anyone decides to join, and at least 2 people have decided. Trey Turner and Mitchell still have not decided, and Landry is coming back. So from there, we will add an offer in for Patrick Peterson just to make sure we have some depth, at least at that free safety spot. If he does still maintain that starting spot, I'm fine with that. He had a really good season for us last year there. We are also trying to bring back Clavon Chason. However, he would not really play probably the position he would actually play as an outside linebacker for us in our new 3-4. But instead, we need some depth on the line, and he has at least some strength. Would go up to an 82, and we definitely need some depth on the defensive line. So if he could come back, be fantastic. There is an offer in for him from the Rams. It's pretty close, so we'll see if we do get either or any of these guys. And 3 of them, all but the fullback, have decided. And we do get Peterson and we do get Turner, but Chason does not want to come back. So we have at least the backup coming in, the backup option coming in for the tackle spot. Peterson does return, could potentially still be a starter for us, and we have a little bit better depth at the receiving spot. And for the last round of evaluations we'll do here in the first stage of free agency, before I just go sign a bunch of like mid-60 overalls or lower to fill out depth, this is the still. Trying to get Mitchell in. We are offering Will Kinley, who was a backup center for us last year. Trying to bring him back, as well as Chasen Hines, another backup guard. And then also trying to bring back Rashard Lawrence. Again, we need the depth on the defensive line. So let's make some offers here, and we'll see if they all join, all but 2. So Will Kinley still holding out for more money, as well as Mitchell. But we do bring back Chasen Hines and Rashard Lawrence. So if I do end up making any more signings, I'll show it. But for the most part, now we need to focus on what we're going to do when it comes to the draft. Possible trades we need to make to get the guys that we need. And we do actually end up making a few more signings. So here is the entire free agent class for us. We do end up landing the fullback in Christopher Mitchell. Will play again that hybrid fullback running back role. Jarvis Landry coming in as a mentor / just depth for us at receiver. Patrick Peterson returns to most likely potentially start at free. Quan Alexander as a backup off-ball linebacker. Trey Turner maybe will start at tackle. We'll see. Percy Butler returns as a potential starter. Maybe backup for another year behind Patrick Peterson. We'll play with that. We do end up offering Darrell Williams. He comes back to be our 3rd running back. Will Kinley Backup offensive lineman Patrick Johnson, an edge rusher comes back, Chasen Hines comes back, Sullivan back, Lawrence back. We do bring back the 2 undrafted rookie receivers from the last season, and Deion McDaniels and Mike Ricard, could be either or, and then the backup edge rusher in Andre Anthony. So not a whole lot of new, but definitely filling out the depth chart. But now we need to talk about the draft and what we can and cannot do even. Again, as a reminder, this is a small draft class for us. We only have 11 available players who played in any of the Louisiana schools. And in terms of who the top guys are, there is a cornerback in Theo Collier who's a round 1 to 2 true. Is what it was projected, it's what he actually is. Now, what I'm more interested here in Collier is potential player or position flexibility, because we may need someone else at free safety. Now, he is an aggressive ball hawk, for better or worse, could be good at safety, high motor, often looks to rip the ball from the runners, and he shows good discipline. So that all looks good. He runs between a 4.4 flat and a 4.43, which isn't bad. Decent bench reps. The shuttle drill and the 3-cone aren't fantastic. Broad jump isn't very good either, nor is the vert. So he's fast, but he takes a while to get there, which if I'm thinking free safety, I don't quite know how well that fits. But he does have good awareness, good block shedding, catching, press, stamina, tackle, injury, and zone coverage. Those are all B's. Man coverage at C, same as play rec, and then D, kick return, which I could care less about. So he does seem solid around 1 to 2 with some possible position flexibility. As for one of the biggest busts of the group, Owen Hall was projected to be a top 5 tackle, and we now need a starting tackle, but his true talent is actually around 2 to 3. So hopefully he does actually end up falling and falls to us. Has a good motor, shows good discipline. Pretty simple there. Not a very fast guy, but he is strong, so probably more of a power. And definitely looks to be the case, as he does have D run block finesse with C run block, but the pass blocking all looks solid across the board. So he could be a potential starter, maybe more so at left tackle, where you don't typically have that strong of a run blocker. And then our current left tackle, who is a guy, I can't quite remember his name, we traded for him from the Broncos. He can maybe slide over to right tackle. It's a possibility. It kind of depends on where he actually ends up going. Past him, the next best offensive lineman is Nick Stevens, who's a day 3 projection, and he has F run blocking. So really not much to go off there. But there is a tight end that I was really interested in, and I said in a previous episode he might be much higher of a talent, and indeed he is. Projected around 3 to 4, actually 1 to 2. That is Sheldon Newhouse, 6'3", 272, 22 years old. You can pause and read the player notes if you want. I'm more interested in his physical attributes here. Running a 4.7 or quicker. Has some decent strength there as well. Do we need to switch to a 2 tight end look with him and Moreau? He could also block really well, A run block with B run block finesse. I mean, there are some really intriguing ratings here, or at least grades. Spec catch a B, medium route is a B. Where is his short route running? Well, deep is a B, short is a C, A catch in traffic, B carrying, A catch, or A break tackle, and A awareness. I mean, Sheldon Newhouse might be a beast, and we might have to change a playbook again to a double tight end set. There's also a receiver who I wasn't too intrigued with, but they say he's a round 1 talent in Adrian Nance. 6'1", 178, very typical LSU build there. He is pretty quick. A sub 4.4, whether it's 4.39 or 4.36, who knows? Strength, not quite there, but he is very agile and quick. So some good things there. We're missing a route runner on the team, and he does have at least B deep, C short, but F medium, and Burrow is best with short and medium. So his worst route runnings is where our quarterback is best at throwing. So I don't know. Kind of puts me off a little bit there. But what also puts me off is we do not have a first round pick. We have a lot of later round picks, and we'll actually jump over and I'll show you the picks we have. And this is what our current slate looks like. A whole lot of 3rd round and later. We have 2 in the 3rd round, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, and another 3 in the 7th. So we can package up a lot here to try to trade up into that 1st round, but how much can we really do with the picks we have? And who do we go after? That's the more difficult part to think. And what could really help us out is taking a look here at mock draft 5. So there was an offensive lineman, a projected top 5, but he clearly does not look like he's going here in the top 5. It actually looks like they have Owen Hall dropping down to 17th and going to the Cardinals. Now, mock draft 5 is known for being pretty accurate as towards where these guys do end up going. So if we wanted to trade up to get an offensive lineman that we very well might need to start, we would have to trade up to either the 16th or 17th spot, again not having any picks until that 3rd round. As for the corner, looks like he's slated to go to the Patriots at 26. So if we wanted to go his way for that position flexibility, again we would have to trade up, and then right after him, the receiver set to go to the Eagles at 27. So there's definitely some trading up that's going to happen, but I also want to make sure we get that tight end as well. So it's either trade up to 16, 17 for the offensive lineman, or we give someone else a start who's currently on roster and maybe try to bring in player flexibility or another receiver. I'm leaning more towards the offensive lineman. Now, if we take a look at the linemen we do currently have, starting at left tackle, would potentially move to the right tackle spot with the drafting of Owen Hall, would be Robert Hunt, who he's been solid. I think that's the best thing to say. Solid. Hasn't been great, hasn't been bad, but just right there, right across the middle, average. And he has some decent blocking ratings, definitely more focused towards the run rather than pass, so he would fit better at that right tackle spot. We also at left guard have Damian Lewis. Still did look to try to trade him, but didn't really find anything that would really have helped us out. He's again very similar, just average across the board. Isn't better at run blocking or pass blocking, just decent at both. At center, Lloyd Cushenberry. Now he's someone who I think has a little bit of some flexibility. He's actually a better pass protector than he is a run blocker, so he could maybe slide out to a guard spot, but I think he's been solid at center. Behind him, we do have Will Kinley, who is definitely more so of a pass blocker than a run blocker. So again, he could also shift positions, but do we need that? He's not starting caliber. We do have the 3rd-year player now in Chip Edmonds, who's been fantastic for us. And then the 4th-year Ed Ingram. Now, he's someone who is very much not an outside tackle by any means. He has 64 pass block currently. Much better in terms of run blocking. So if we had to shift someone from guard out to a tackle spot and then our center to a guard spot, Ingram, I feel like could possibly play center. So there is some flexibility there. And currently we have Max Mitchell and Trey Turner. Mitchell has been progressing throughout this season or series, and his ratings are okay. Do I want to start him? Not necessarily. He has some glaring weaknesses, especially in the power game, but it's doable. And as for the corner spot, I really don't think we need to make a trade up to get that corner. We have our top 3, and we have some guys float we know can be solid. He played pretty well for us when he was starting. So we have the depth we need for sure. Maybe if there was a better safety option, we could go that way, but I think I have the 2 I like there. Same for strong safety. And the other option was receiver. And I don't think he would be good enough to take the job from either Marshall or Chark, and those are the only 2 who could possibly take a job from. Everyone else gonna be backups. So I think it's offensive lineman. Really, go after a guy who might bring the biggest impact. So with that all said and done, I think it's time to jump into the draft and see what we can get done. Now again, mock draft 5 said that they were going or expected Owen Hall to go to the Cardinals back at 17. So we don't need to make a trade up now. So let's start working our way back to him. So with the first pick in the draft, the Packers go with Joey Young, a right end out of Boise State. Next up at 2, Browns go with another edge guy, George Anderson, Ohio State. The Texans select a quarterback, Glenn Bayless out of Vanderbilt. Bills at 4, Brenton Foster, an outside linebacker from Clemson. And to round out the top 5, the Tennessee Titans go with George Scott, right guard out of Georgia. Now I'm going to start getting through towards this pick so we don't drag it on, not necessary. And if our guy does end up going, I'll definitely show it. But we should be jumping in around that 15th, 16th spot and then go from there. And we have successfully moved up to pick 15, a couple spots before our guy is expected to go. Now we know it's going to be an overdraft if we do pick him here because his projection was around 2 to 3. But I do know around 2 to 3s are still starting caliber for offensive linemen. So here is the offer we have put together for the Commanders. A future first round pick for next year, our current third, our second third, and then a fourth. Now will this be enough for the Commanders? Yes, it will. So they will drop out of the first round entirely this year, pick up another one, so they'll have 2 first rounds next year, and pick up a third and a 4. That means no drama here. We can get our guy. And he is actually top of the board. Again, he was a projected top 5, actually around 2 to 3. So feels like not the best pick because we know it's that 2 to 3, but he's the best possible guy we could get for our team. So Owen Hall, welcome to the Louisiana Only Challenge with 92 strength. I think that's solid. Actually, go up to 96. We'll check out the ratings at the end, but I sure hope he's starting caliber. Now from here, my next target is the tight end. Now he, if I remember correctly, was a projected round 3 to 4, but actually a talent of round 1 to 2, I believe. And yes, that is exactly correct. So I think I would want to get into about the mid-second round and then try to make a move for Sheldon Newhouse. So let's start moving along. And actually, before we do that, let's take a look to see how many tight ends are before him. There's at least 3. So if I do start to see a couple tight ends go, I'll make the move. Mostly Clayton Shepard, kind of in that round where I expect he would go. So let's start moving along. Fingers crossed we get our other guy. And the receiver, Adrian Nance, did end up going to the Eagles at the 27th spot. But I believe the corner was supposed to go before him. So we did shake up the draft a little bit as he did not go after him. So yeah, shook it up a little bit as we get on close to the end here of the first round. Just a couple picks left. Our tight end still on the board. So all's good so far, knock on wood. And the last pick of the first round is Theo Collier, so he still at least gets first round money. He goes to the Jags. Now we did have a tight end go off the board here, and we're at the 10th pick in the second round, but it's with the Falcons, so we're not going to make a trade yet, at least not with them. They go with a linebacker, perfectly fine. Now the Giants, would they possibly be interested in a trade? So we're going to ask the Giants to drop 26 spots and pick almost a full round and pick up an extra 5th and 6th. Don't think this will quite do it, but are they interested? Very much so, but just not quite enough for them. So instead, we will offer a 4th round pick, a little bit higher than the 5th we were offering, but we're going to drop the 6th round to a later 6th round pick. Now, will that do it? Yes. Yes, it will. So that means we'll be getting our top 2 guys. I wanted the offensive lineman. I want the tight end. Past that, fair game, I guess. Well, whether we make trades for other players or whatnot, I'm honestly not quite sure as I'm recording this. But definitely wanted to get those 2 guys. So let's go grab our tight end before someone else does. Sheldon Newhouse. Around 3 to 4 projection, actually around 1, yet he supposedly dropped or about stayed the same over the remainder of the season. That doesn't make sense. But Sheldon Newhouse is a hidden dev with 83 speed, 77 strength, 76 change of direction with 80 agility, and 88 acceleration. We might need to switch to a 2 tight end set. But where do we go from here? So let's just take a look at the draft board. See if there's anyone left that we even have any sort of semi-interest in. There's a late round receiver day 3, but has no release, so not very interested. An offensive lineman that could very well be an undrafted guy, and a corner that cannot cover. So we have a lot of picks left, and I don't see much here for us to go after. So that's telling me maybe to make some trade for some players or better picks for next year. Maybe try to find a way to get back at least into the second round, and then with those 2 second round picks, if there happens to be a good first rounder for us and we don't win the Super Bowl, which depending how the series has gone, yeah, not all too sure, but maybe see if we could get 2 seconds, find a way to get into the first round if we do have a good guy to go after. Now, just going here to take a look at the picks that we do have. We have 2 5ths, 2 6s, and 3 7s left. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I was just messing around, seeing what the Chargers' interest were in a trade for Tyrann Mathieu, trying to bring him back. He's a little bit younger than Peterson. So we threw Peterson into the deal and included a 5th and a 6th round pick. And that brought in Tyrann Mathieu. Now, do need to state he is not a superstar. He's not an X factor. He is just a star, 33 years old. But that's also 2 years younger than Peterson, plus he's 10 overall higher. So, okay. We have Tyrann Mathieu back on the team. Thanks, Madden, I guess. And after exploring a couple other trade options, I did try to trade for Darrell Mooney. Don't know how I didn't realize he is actually an available receiver for us. He played at Tulane. Tried to make a trade for him. They weren't wanting to make the trade. He is a superstar, so made sense. Also tried to see again with Devin White. No, they weren't having it. So we're going to package together our 5th, 6th, and 7th. We still have 2 more 7th, but we're going to pick up a 3 and a 7 next year from the Giants. I think that's a good package deal for us. Still have to make another trade to get rid of the 7s, which looks like the best offer will be from the Bills. A 6th round pick next year, which, sure, I'll go ahead and take it. So that will already conclude our draft. We only go after 2 guys, but we do bring in Tyrann Mathieu. So, a little bit of a surprise in there. Definitely wasn't planning on doing that, but it just kind of fell to us. So, we'll advance to the end of this draft and check out our 2 new players. And it's 2 solid overalls as we bring in a new starter at tackle. Again, we'll probably play left tackle. He's 73. We'll have to compare him to Max Mitchell. They might actually be pretty similar, and if so, maybe we have some trade opportunity here. Actually, the rating's not as good as I was expecting. Run block and pass block, low 70s. Expected, I guess pass block you could actually say mid after the morale leaves, but pass block power is good. Finesse, solid. Run block power, solid. Finesse in the run block needs some work, and that's also getting a +3 boost to it. So we'll try the 2 out. It'll be a battle between Owen Hall and Max Mitchell for sure. Like we knew that he was going to be around 2 to 3 talent, and I'm definitely seeing that there. But there is some interesting bits that do make me think he could be a starter. As for Sheldon Newhouse, the highest of the 2, a 74 plus the hidden dev. He's going to come in with 83 speed, 88 catching with the boost. A little bit of some run block in there is solid, decent awareness, acceleration looking pretty good. Route running isn't fantastic, but he does have some pretty good catch in traffic, 80 again after the morale. And then 79 spec catch, good break tackle at 70 with good injury. We'll definitely need to get some 2 tight end sets out there. I think him and Moreau could be a nice 1-2 punch at that position. So interesting additions, really. I get only 2 picks, but I think those were solid. I do, however, want to check out the 2 players we ended up not going for, and they were towards the end. So Theo Collier, the cornerback I wasn't quite sure on, was a 74, or is a 74 and a hidden dev. I did not see that one coming. And yeah, he definitely very well could have played some free safety with the zone being favored there. Does have good press though. Catching, I expected a little bit higher from him. Tackling is pretty good for a corner as well, so he definitely could have been a free safety for us, but we have Tyrann Mathieu, so I'm going to take that. As for the receiver, I did not think was going to be good because his ratings didn't show that he would be. 74 overall once again. So the highest rated player we could have got was a 74 hidden dev in either the tight end that we did get or the corner, which we did not opt to go for. Adrian Nance, though, normal dev here. And, I mean, blazing speed and acceleration there, 94 and 98. Does have the good deep route running. Short, manageable, but that medium was what really put me off from him, because that's what Burrow does best, is that short to medium. That was not a good combination there. So overall, though, this does give me a better look at these receivers in terms of their grading and what it actually translates to. So the fact that he actually has decent release is surprising, because that was a C. So I'll remember that for the future. I still think we have a pretty good receiving group, even though I did try to trade for Mooney. Just wanted to see if we could get an improvement. But overall, for not having a lot of depth for this class, the top end was all starters. Now, after blitzing through preseason, did want to take a quick look at the stats, and Burrow still not looking fantastic. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 61% completion, only sacked 4 times, so there was that. Also, it was quick simming, so it wasn't like we were using our actual playbook. But little worrisome there. Rushing, Darrell Williams, 3.8 and a touchdown's fine by me. 3.4 and 3 touchdowns for Davis Price. Could use a little bit of a better average there. In the receiving game, Justin Jefferson, solid. Landry also did really well in his return. Murrow did well. Marshall, solid once again. The rookie tight end, Sheldon Newhouse, 7 catches, 71 yards. Solid for that number 2, and did better than Chark. I would say I'll give it to Chark. He had the better average per catch. But all around, I mean, solid from just about everyone. And in terms of sacks given up, Owen Hall, not the best start in 120 snaps. Did give up 3 sacks. So not great. In a similar amount of play time there, Max Mitchell only gave up 1, so that competition is still very tight. As for the defense, Deion Jones led us, 17 tackles there. Arden Key, who is a potential trade target, I will say, at 15, so not too bad there. Tackles for a loss, looks like we have at least a fair few here. Daniil Hunter with 2, as well as Anthony and Godshaw. Then 1 for Deion Jones, Milton Williams, Dion Easley, Jacob Phillips, and Tyquan McKee. Sack-wise, Daniil Hunter continuing very well off of last season. Arden Key had 1, and then just half for Percy Butler and Deion Jones. So outside of the starters, no sacks. But we did have quite a lot of interceptions. Greedy Williams with 1, same as Patrick Queen, Cordell Float, Deion Jones, Jacob Phillips, and Xavier Woods. In terms of catches allowed, Patrick Queen did give up the most with 8, but that's just going to be the case with the middle linebackers. They're always going to give up a lot. But winning 2 of 3 preseason games, I will take it. Need to at least win 2 out of 3, 2/3 of the in-season games. But we do need to get this roster down to size, and that does include getting rid of guys that the CPU just added to the team that we definitely don't want. And there was actually just 2 players that we needed to move off the team who were not from a Louisiana school that they Madden signed. So 12 players need to be cut. Now we unfortunately do have to keep Jeff Driscoll, was the only backup quarterback available. As for running back, we did move the fullback there, which is why he's a 48. Still want to try him out there. If it doesn't work, we have Jonathan Harris as a backup. But I do want to give Mitchell a shot. So for now, we are going to move Harris to the practice squad. Now we have 8 receivers, and I just don't think we need that many. So Racy McMath, I am going to cut. There's some younger guys who I think have some potential better talent, higher ceilings, I should say. Doug Scott will get moved to the practice squad. That'll leave us with 6. We also have 6 tight ends, and we definitely don't need that many. So these sub 60 guys, they're going to go to the practice squad. And unfortunately, Thaddeus Moss, his time has come. He is cut. He hasn't progressed much at all throughout this series, and we now have Newhouse and Moreau solidifying the top 2. We will move Jason Parrish to the practice squad just because he's only a 62. We don't need that on our offensive line. We will do the same with Dorian Franklin. And we have 3 tackles here that we need to sort out who's going to be getting the starting spot. Right now, potentially it might be Mitchell. My concern is the strength is very low, 10 points lower than that of Hall. So that might just be throughout the season, just a battle of who plays best there. We also need to move them over to the left tackle spot. For the preseason, I just let them play. At DT, we can at least move Williamson to the practice squad. Ruiz does not have the eligibility for some reason, despite only being 23 years old, but we need some depth because we don't have a lot of it on the defensive line, so he's barely making it onto the squad. At off-ball linebacker, both Anthony Torres and Carlos Woodard will be sent to the practice squad. They're pretty low overall, 61. We have good enough depth with Jacob Phillips and Quan Alexander. Both of those can cover the middle linebacker spot when needed. And we do not need 6 cornerbacks, so Stephen Hatchett will head to the practice squad, and that will get us down to the 53 needed. And lastly, we have what our next draft class is, which gives us an idea as if we can make any more trades. And I will say, while this draft class is at least slightly bigger than the last one, 12 versus 11, there's really not a lot of spread out talent. We do have a round 1 receiver in Philip Chancellor, who was 6'5", 234. So a big dude, and I already know he's not a deep receiver. But again, Burrow is primarily a short and medium passer. Granted, we have a pretty good receiving core. So unless everything else here for Philip Chancellor is an A, don't see myself going after a wide receiver. Past him, on the offense, next best options are going to be some day 3 offensive linemen, both right guards out of LSU. They typically don't end up being much. As for the defensive line, the only option is a day 3 DT, which we do need depth along the defensive line, and he looks like with that size, 6'5", about 280, he could play a left or right end, which we do need depth at. But who I'm really hoping is going to be a solid guy is Terrence Murphy, a middle linebacker projected round 1 to 2. Being 6'4", 252, that's making me think more of a run stopper. I need an all-around guy. Fingers crossed he is that guy, but so far he's my number 1 target. And then later on here in the round 3 to 4, we do have a corner in Troy Page. So there's some talent. No one speaking out to me yet. Fingers crossed for Murphy, but that's about it for the class. So a little bit disappointing. I will say Louisiana has had some of the worst classes, I feel like. But they also play in a region that has a lot of big name schools, so we don't have as many possible players, and I think that's coming into effect. We did get 2 new starters, hopefully new. We'll see how Owen Hall does on the offensive line. Tight end definitely is going to be in that starting rotation at least. We also brought in Tyrann Mathieu. More trades are still possible. Arden Key, with us having Dion Easley, is someone who we could potentially trade, and if it helps us bring in someone to fill a role that we need, all the better. So hopefully season 4 of the Louisiana State Only Challenge goes a lot better because we only have 2 more seasons. If we can't win the Super Bowl by the end of season 5, Louisiana will be the first State Only Challenge to not complete, be victorious. They will lose, which would suck. But we do have Madden 24 right around the corner, and there are a lot more Louisiana players that were drafted in this last draft that just happened in real life last offseason that we didn't have access to, so could potentially be a good one to come back to. If we don't complete it, fingers crossed we do, and make sure you guys stick around to see if we do. Hit that subscription button either down below or my bell icon in the bottom right, but if you are going down below, definitely make sure you hit that bell icon, which you should probably hit anyway, so you're notified when these videos go live. This series is posted every single Wednesday and Saturday, and we will continue this state-only challenges when Madden 24 comes out. We're also wrapping up the Commander's Replacement Squad series, a big episode out tomorrow, more of like a documentary as we jump into some future simming of that series to see how it all ends up, how our generational quarterback finishes his career. So big episode tomorrow, definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. Also finishing up the FIFA 23 My Player career, and when Madden 24 comes out, we will focus on that for a little while. So taking a break from FIFA, so let me know if you guys want 3 videos of whatever franchise, the traditional franchise we start over on Madden 24 and the state-only challenges, or if you would want 4 of the traditional and 2 of the state-only. That's kind of more of what I'm leaning towards, so we could get through a first season at least of the traditional much quicker, as these state ones do get simmed a lot quicker. So let me know what you think about that, and until next time, we will start season 4, where we're going to need all the fingers crossed, knocked on wood, whatever good luck you can give us. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
How it's supposed to feel.